Hey there, guys, and welcome back to the Travis and Damian podcast, episode 147. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and more. Today, we are talking about Epic Mickey Rebrushed, Sonic Central, The Last of Us Season 2, PlayStation State of Play, and more. But as usual, we will begin with our recent activities. I'll actually go first because Damian got a big-ass list. He's been gaming.
I have a lot.
Been gaming a lot recently. I will skip over Epic Mickey and save that for the end of Damian's part of the discussion. But first, just want to wrap up my thoughts on Astro Bot. I mean, it's pretty much what everything and everyone has been saying. It is definitely one of the best games of the year, definitely one of the best 3D platformers in a while. Not to say that, the genre hasn't been getting a lot of love, especially with this year with Penny's Big Breakaway, a Kimbot. But this game in particular, obviously, it's a AAA PlayStation Studio title that they've been working on for the past 3 years or so. And yeah, there's a reason why people are calling it Mario Galaxy 3 and things like that. I just had so much fun. I didn't 100% it. I definitely just went through every single world, try to get as many bots as possible and just go from there. I played a few of the challenge levels, which I definitely was like, I'm trying to not lose my shit here. But you know what? I understand that most of the time when I do mess up, it is my fault and not necessarily on the level. Those levels also, you have to do it within one shot. There's no checkpoints whatsoever. So I get to a new part of it. I'm trying to learn it. And then I'm like, oh shoot, I die. So yeah, those are definitely fun to kill 30 to 45 minutes on each of them. But yeah, Astro Bot, if you have a PlayStation 5, definitely pick it up. I believe there are talks of a PC port, but that's not guaranteed, obviously, especially considering how much PlayStation references are in there, which I don't know about the legal stuff behind that, but I'm sure it wouldn't be that big of a deal. But yeah, if you have a PS5, go pick it up. Mm-hmm. You got anything to add on Astro Bot, Damian?
I mean, I said everything I had to say last podcast, but we'll say, yeah, the game is just extremely good. One of the best 3D platformers in a while. It's really good. I know, I think we're not as super low on 3D platformers as we used to be. This year, like you said, we had a lot of good 3D platformers, but Astro Bot really stands above them in that Mario caliber and how good it is. So I really hope Team Asobi could do another one, or maybe they could do another franchise. Hopefully Sony sees that this game is people actually like this, so let's give them more money, give them more time to make a cool game. I don't care. I just want more Astro Bot. I just want more from Team Asobi. They're doing a great job. So hopefully we don't have to wait as long for the next game. I am very excited, and we're getting more stuff for it later, which we're talking about in the State of Play. But just very excited to just play more Astro Bot. Astro Bot's very good.
Then I got free code to check out Gimmick 2. This was a surprise email that I was looking through, and I was like, oh, look, this new NES era 2D platformer is out. And I was like, all right, I mean, I've never played Gimmick, and that's because Gimmick has not had a release within the US until the remaster came out a few years ago, and I didn't check that out. But you know what? Gimmick 2 is in my email list, and I was like, all right, sure, you know what? I will request code for it, and I got it for the Nintendo Switch. And yeah, it is pretty good. People are finishing this game in 2 to 3 hours, which is not realistic whatsoever. I will say that as someone who has never played Gimmick, it took me 7 to 8 hours, which could be me just being bad, but the game is actually challenging. The way the game works, it's very simple. You jump or you throw your star, and your star has physics where you don't just throw it directly. It does a bounce, and you can also jump on the star to get extra height and do all of this crazy stuff. So yeah, there's definitely a learning curve to it. This is definitely one of those games where it's easy to play but hard to master kind of thing. And at first I was definitely not a fan of how archaic Gimmick 2 was, but as I continued to play, I was like, oh, okay, now that I'm getting it, now that I'm learning, that sort of challenge of playing it over and over again until I get the challenge done or the level completed is always satisfying and a lot of fun. I think 100% completion is a little overboard, because when I went to, I believe right before the final boss, they have a door with all of the collectibles that you could find. It's more than 10, and I only found one of them, and it was so hard to get that one. It took me almost an hour, and I was like, okay, anyone who wants to 100%, this game is definitely worth the $25 price tag. Even if you do a leisure run through like I did myself, you are definitely going to get a few hours out of this game. Obviously, if you played a lot of Gimmick, you're definitely going to breeze through it a lot faster than I did, but you probably already have played this new Gimmick game as well. So yeah, I mean, it's available on not just Switch, it's on PC. I'm not sure if it's on PlayStation, but yeah. And then the last thing, I've been watching a few movies that have come out as of late. So first up, Beetlejuice. This is a sequel reboot kind of thing. I don't know anything about Beetlejuice. Me and my girlfriend kind of just went out to go watch it because, it's Halloween season. It's spooky. Also, I heard that it was pretty good considering what it is. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. I didn't know that like Beetlejuice was kind of just like a bunch of random shit happening, and like he's like this guy who like lives like in hell, I guess, and just if you say his name 3 times, he shows up and does whatever he needs to do to get what you want or whatever. So yeah, it's a fun movie. I think the plot definitely starts to pick up towards the middle of it, and it is a lot of fun. I will say, I think the last joke bit, I think not a lot of people like it, not even me. No one really laughed or sort of were amused by it because it was kind of just weird and out of left field. But yeah, I mean, everyone in the film does a great job. Michael Keaton, Jenna Ortega, and Winona Ryder, they're all great, fantastic cast. You really can't mess up a movie with those 3 starring in it, right? So, next film I watched was Transformers 1. I really only watched this because of the shadow poster. I was going to see it a little later, but, the moment I saw that shadow poster, I was like, okay, well, guess I'm going to see it that Friday. So I did go see it that Friday morning. The funny thing about getting that poster is that I actually had to ask, like, customer service, like, management, like, hey, y'all got this poster? Which, like, I wasn't the only one. There was another guy already there, and I was like, yeah, it looks like this. And then he went in the back, saw a box that said like Transformers 1. He opened it. He gave me and my girlfriend 1 poster each. So yeah, but the movie itself, it is actually very freaking good. There's a reason why people are comparing
I'm hearing
it.
about that, yeah.
There's a reason why people are comparing it to Spider-Verse, and it is because, it is just a really well-made animated film. Despite it being PG, they do sort of take it to the lengths, sort of like with SpongeBob, where like certain jokes may like fly over kids' heads, but like if you're like a adult, you'll understand like what they're trying to say here or whatever. But it's just a really good like origin story. Like I don't know shit about Transformers other than like I guess Bumblebee, which I watched years ago within theaters. But with this film, it really is like an origin story. Like you see everything sort of come to fruition with like the Autobots, Decepticons, all that shit. So yeah, and also the voice cast, despite it all being like A-list Hollywood actors, like they all like really do a good job. Like they all perform well. Like they're not just there for like the paycheck kind of thing. Like they actually act their ass off. Like Chris Hemsworth as fucking Optimus Prime, I was like, wait, this guy's like actually good. Like what the hell's going on here? So yeah, the movie definitely surprises you on a lot of fronts, and a lot of people are blaming the marketing as to why this movie isn't as big as it is, which is true because like the trailers for it were not exactly. It
looked like garbage. Yeah,
it wasn't exactly all that great. And then you go watch the movie, and I'm like, okay, yeah, like this is like a really good movie. I definitely want to see it again in theaters, but I probably won't have the time for it. I'm definitely gonna try to buy it on 4K Blu-ray when it does come out.
Yeah, I'm really interested in watching it too. There's a lot of like animated movies that I just haven't got the time to watch. Like the new Puss in Boots movie. I know like people were like love that movie. I'm like I should really watch that. Same thing with this one. There was another one. Oh, Wow Robot looks really good. The new DreamWorks thing they just released. Like all that stuff looks. Oh, TMNT too. Like I've been missing so many animated movie. I really have to catch up on that shit. But yeah, Transformers 1, I feel the same way about the Dungeons and Dragons movie, where the marketing was like really bad, where the movie just looked like, oh, this looks like really cringy, like I'm not gonna watch this. But then it turns out it's really good. So yeah, just fired those people making those trailers because they are not doing a good job. But yeah, looks pretty good.
And then the last film I saw was Speak No Evil. If you've been watching movies a lot over the past, I would say, few months, you probably saw this trailer a lot. And I saw it with me and my coworkers at first, and then I saw it again with Jimmy and my girlfriend. And yeah, I mean, seeing it twice definitely helps. I feel like with any movie, it really gives you a better idea of whether you really like it or not. And obviously with like a horror thriller movie like this one, where it's like you don't know what's going to happen next, because I knew everything that was going to happen, I could identify like the pacing a lot better, which I think the pacing is good. I think the first time I watched it felt a lot longer than I thought it was, because I think it's like less than 2 hours long. But obviously second time watching it, it felt a lot better. But pretty much you got this family who's like from America, and then they go to Europe for various reasons, and then they meet this other family, and obviously they're like, hey, you should like come to our house and like bumfuck nowhere. And like obviously some weird stuff starts to happen, and it leads up to the big final stuff that, the big reveal, if you will, which I will not spoil. But, I think that for the most part, the movie wasn't exactly all that surprising, or I wouldn't say predictable either, but I think what it does it very well. James McAvoy, he's like always just like fantastic in like whatever role that he does. So, he's obviously like the shining spotlight within this film. But yeah, if you like sort of like thriller horror movies, I think that this is definitely one that you should check out. There's definitely a lot of cringy and unsettling moments that I was just like, what the fuck is going on? Which like happened both times I watched it. People were just fucking dying laughing because it's just like, this is so fucking unsettling and weird, but also funny at the same time. So yeah, definitely worth checking out if you're into sort of that genre, especially with, like I said, spooky season coming up. This is definitely another movie you should check out.
Alrighty, so next for me, I have a shit ton of video games. There's been just a lot of video games in September and obviously October as well. So I'm actually like got through a lot of the September games, which I'm surprised I did. Like the only two I think I'm really missing is I do want to play the Dead Rising remake at some point, and I do want to play that that other Switch game, the Bakuryu game, because that one looked pretty fun. So,
I actually have that on my Switch, but I just haven't played it.
Yeah, so those two I do want to get to at some point, but this is as much as I was able to do. So Persona 3 Reload DLC, so I finished this like basically right after the last podcast because I was basically almost done with it anyway. It was really good. Like I said in the last podcast, most of it is gameplay. It's like long. It was like 25 hours for fucking DLC, which is like insane because that's more than any of the games I just played recently. And for the most part, most of the story really is in the first hour, and then the last like 4 hours of the expansion have like basically where all the story is. The middle part is, fun dungeon crawly stuff. You get some story here and there, but it's not like a whole lot. It's mostly just to like experience more Persona 3, which is fine because I like the combat and dungeon crawly stuff. So I didn't really mind it that much, but I feel like if you went into this immediately after finishing Persona 3, you're gonna get like Omega burned out. I definitely suggest like letting Persona 3 chill for a little bit and then going to this DLC if you haven't. Luckily, I played Reload when it came out, which was like in January, so I felt pretty like refreshed to like keep playing this. And yeah, honestly, I think all the story bits were really fun. Well, not fun; it was like depressing, but it was good story bits. It really comes into all the characters get the closure they needed, since in the original game it was mostly just the main protagonist gained that closure. So it's cool to have all the other party members kind of come to that realization with the story elements of the end of Persona 3. I obviously won't say anything, but I thought all that stuff was honestly really good. Like the ending, I'm like, yeah, this is great. I thought that was a great wrap up for these characters into this story. So really good DLC. They did tune it down a lot from the original PS2 release. Like, it does seem to be a lot easier. Like, there's only a few bosses that kind of kick my ass, especially towards the end of the game. But the bouncing seemed to be a lot better than the original PS2 version because I didn't really have to grind at all. Like, I just fought all the shadows I can, and that's about it. So yeah, and also you can just like cheat. You like if you have the DLC anyway, you can get like ultra strong personas and just win anyway. So, but yeah, I suggest it to anyone that's like really into Persona 3 and want to keep seeing these characters for like one last thing. So yeah, it was pretty good. So next I have a shit ton of other games that came out. So Warhammer 40k, Space Marine 2. So this came out a bit earlier in September, and I think it came out when Astro Bot came out.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I'll play this if I have time. And then I had time, and it's short too. It's only like, it took me 10 hours to beat it. And the game was fucking great. I mean, this is like the most 360 game I've ever played in my life, with it looking like amazing. Like graphically, the game looks fucking fantastic. Like, there's so many enemies on screen. The environments are like gorgeous. A lot of big open spaces. It just looks great. Same thing with like just the art design and just like how faithful the game looks to like just the Warhammer 40k universe. Like, I'm not like a big nerd about it, but like just seeing like the Space Marines and how they look, I'm like, yeah, this looks sick. And in terms of gameplay, it's basically what you expect from that era of games, of that 360 era. Very like Gears of War. Like, you're just going in, killing guys. You pick up weapons. There's no skill trees. There's none of that shit. You just go into a level, beat the shit out of a bunch of aliens. You get some cool set piece moments, and then there you go. Like towards the end of the game, like that final mission is like legit like hype as shit. It's so cool. Like there's just so much shit happening. You just feel all that hype. It's great, man. Like the boss fights were really awesome and like just had a bunch of spectacle to them. And even then, even if you feel gypped that, $70 game that's only 10 hours, that seems like a ripoff. There's like a lot of other stuff to do in this game that I do want to get back to at some point. There's like co-op PvE missions you could do, and for that you can actually level up and pick a class and those classes, have different skill trees, and you can level up different stuff, so it adds to a lot of replayability. There's different modifier. Well, I don't know if it's modifiers, but there's different like difficulty levels, so you can keep working yourself up through the difficulty. So it works very much like a Left 4 Dead type game. And I heard a lot of good things about that co-op PvE mode. And there's even a PvP mode as well. That's I heard a lot. It's a lot of fun as well. It's just a standard sort of like arena shooter type thing. This one says that just capture the points or just like kill each other. Just simple PvP fun. Again, like something like back in the day. We don't see a lot of games that come out this generation that has like a full package like this anymore, right? Like. It's not like Uncharted, right? Like Uncharted 2. Like that game came out with a PvP mode. Like you wouldn't see that nowadays, right? If Naughty Dog were to make like a new AAA game, they're not going to just release a random ass PvP mode because they can. But Saber Interactive are just like, oh, fuck it, just put every game mode we can, and we don't give a shit. Like you really don't see that anymore because it's like, oh, because this PvP mode has to have a battle pass or it has to make money somehow, right? This game just didn't give a shit. It's like this PvP mode has literally nothing. Like it's just you go in there, you shoot some guys and have fun. There's no progression, there's no battle pass or nothing. It just seems like such a refreshing take of like a AAA shooter that we haven't seen in quite a while, since most of them are focused on either being like a big budget, just focus on the campaign sort of thing, or it just focuses on the PvP, battle pass type of thing, which I don't really mind either. Like I'm not totally against any of that stuff, but it's refreshing to have a game like this after like so long, right? So I feel like if you're a fan of like just stupid 360 games back in the day, I highly recommend it. It's a very well made one. $70 is a bit much if you just care about the campaign, so you could probably wait on the sale for it. But for me, I think it was worth it. It was super fun, and I definitely want to go back and play more of the co-op mode. So yeah, ton of fun. Next is the Plucky Squire. So this came out like a week or so ago. And this was like sort of like the big indie game I was really like excited for, because, just the premise of it looks so cool. Being able to jump in and out of the pages, it goes from this beautiful 2D game to like a cool 3D game, just switches on the dime and stuff. And yeah, for the most part, that's what it is. Though I did expect it to be way more Zelda-like. This game is a lot linear than I thought it was going to be. So you just go from page to page. The Plucky Squire does his thing in the book, and then sometimes you're going to get booted out of the book because you have to solve a problem that needs to be addressed outside of it, right, for story reasons or whatever. So then you will go outside the book. You do maybe like a short little 3D platformer section, then go back in the book, and then you just continue on to the 2D parts. So for the most of the game, it is going to be in 2D. Like you're mostly going to be in that Zelda-like mode rather than the 3D bits. And there are times where you could manipulate the book in 3D mode. So you would like pop out of the book, you'll do something right on the page you're on, and then you'll go back into 2D mode and then like continue on. And it's pretty clever. But I feel like the problem with this game is to introduce a lot of really cool mechanics, like, popping in and out of 3D or doing like the big 3D sections or some other puzzle mechanics. But the game never really fully utilizes all of its like mechanics. Like it introduces it, but never goes far enough to make it like super interesting, right? Like I still had a good time playing this game, but I felt like they could have gone a lot further with the puzzles or with the combat or with a bunch of other stuff, right? Like this game is clearly targeted more towards younger players, which is fine. And I still had a good time playing it. I don't think difficulty necessarily makes a game like bad or whatever. A lot of people feel like, oh, I need challenge for the game to be good. And, I think that's, that's fair. But for me, I personally don't need that. Like Astro Bot I thought was pretty easy. Like Kirby games are very easy, but I love them as long as they're creative and introduce like cool new things I haven't seen before, right? And I think Plucky Squire does that too. I just think its mechanics do feel pretty held back because they don't want it to make it too difficult. Like the word puzzles are really cool. So since the game is a storybook, you could sort of like change different words around and put it to you can make like a new sentence, right? So it's like, oh, this bridge is closed. You could explore around the area, find like another sentence that says this something is closed or whatever. So you could like take that word, replace it, and then like the bridge opens or whatever. And I think that's really cool, but it never goes further than that. It's very like easy to understand what the game wants you to do. It's not like Baba Is You. It's like really complex word puzzles or whatever. It's just pretty simple. Same thing with manipulating the pages in 3D. Like it's very much like, oh, just use your time stop power. Like you do like a time stop stamp on an object and then it stops, and that's about it. Like things don't really go that further than that in the puzzle department. And combat is very one note. Like combat is just, you just press square and you win. That's about it. Like you could spin attack, you could throw your sword, but like the optimal thing to do is just to spam square because that does the most damage. And, combat really isn't challenging at all either. So I do think the game kind of strays more into the more style and not as much substance territory, which is a bit disappointing, but I still think the game was fun just to play it for that. Like, I think all the set pieces, all the mini games that changes its gameplay style, the game is just beautiful to look at all times. I think it's still worth a playthrough just for that. Though $30 is a bit much for what it is. On PlayStation, if you have the PlayStation Extras or whatever, you do get it for free. So that's an option. Or else I will just say wait for a sale. Because I do think the game is, pretty like, it's like 8 hours too. So it's pretty decently long. But I feel like by the end, it's just like, okay, we can wrap it up now, right? Because I feel like the mechanics it introduces just never go far enough. But I still think overall the game is good. It just needed a bit more like stuff to it, I guess.
Yeah,
it's hard to
a bit
explain.
more substance.
Yeah, a bit more substance, right? Like, they could have given more items, more challenging puzzles, stuff like that, but this didn't go far enough. But if they do make a sequel to this game, it could be amazing. I think everything they learned from this, just take this game and just really put all those mechanics to full use. It could be like a 10 out of 10. But right now, it's probably like an 8. Like, it's still good. I really enjoyed my time with it, but I think it just needs a bit more, So
yeah, that's definitely what I've read in the other reviews is just like, oh, okay, yeah, like the game looks great, like it looks phenomenal. The main artists and pretty much the people that made it, they've been wanting to make this game for years, and I'm glad that they were finally able to do it. And just like it looks good, it plays well, but like just sort of like I guess like the mechanics and sort of everything just needed a little bit more time to really find its I guess like area for it to really like stand on its ground kind of thing. So
yeah, I agree with that. Like basically all the reviews I agree with. I do think some people are a bit too harsh on it, but I think it's still really good. Like I think it is a good game that people should play just to look at it at least. It's very beautiful. But next up is another indie game and this one is fucking fantastic. So UFO 50 is made by the guy who made Spelunky and the guy who made Downwell and a bunch of other indie creators. And they're basically just like, I don't know if you remember Action 52. It was like that really shitty NES game that has like 52 games in it. They're like, okay, let's do that, but make it good, right? Let's make every game like a banger. And they fucking did it, bro. Like, I didn't play every game yet, but I played like around 20 of the games. I have like 5 hours in it right now. And every game is just so good. Like, they're all very simple. They're all NES type games. So only 2 buttons and your D-pad. That's all you get. But some of the creativity in some of these games are like insane. One of the ones I beat was called Mooncat. So it was like this like platformer. And I have my controller here. The way you control it, it's fucking weird. So like if your guy, like you use this to move like left and right, but you have to hold down a button to move right. And then this becomes jump. So if you're moving to the left, this is movement and like this is jump. But if you're moving to the right, you have to like hold down a face button and this becomes jump. And it's fucking weird. But it does so many cool mechanics with that like premise that I'm like, yo, this is insane. There's another platformer called Mortal or whatever, where your guy, it's kind of like a mix of like a platformer and like Lemmings or whatever. So your guy could like either explode, become like an arrow, which becomes like a little platform, or you could like ground pound enemies and become stone to make another platform. And you get 20 lives, and you have to just get through a level while conserving as many lives as possible while navigating the stage while using your special suicide abilities, basically. And it's just, like, very well designed. I'm like, wow, this is really cool for, like, just how limited they are with stuff. Just because you got, like, 2 buttons, and that's all you got to work with. There's so many other cool games, too. Like, there's just, like, an insane amount. Like, there's a lot of really smartly designed puzzle games as well. I'm not as into, like, puzzle-type games. There's, like, ones that are very score attack-based and stuff. Like, I'm more into the platformers and the shooters and stuff. And they have a shit ton of those. There's, like, 3 RPGs in this, too. Like, I was just like blown away by every game I was playing. Was just how much creativity they put into each game and how much care they put into being authentic to the time period, while still making the game like approachable for like modern day audiences. Like this game is still hard as shit. Like if you want to beat any of these games, like you have to be prepared for like NES hard, right? Because a lot of these are like NES levels of difficulty. There's no rewinds, there's no checkpoints. Like if you get game over, you get a fucking game over, right? So you gotta be prepared for that. But every game is just so well designed. There's like a whole ass like roguelite in this splits too. Like it's like down well, but going up basically. I'm like that's super fun. So yeah, this game has been super fantastic. You know, I've been seeing some of the streamers I watch, like Northern Lion was playing a lot of this, and I'm seeing this game like this looks incredible. Like I just have to support this on principle because of how cool it is. So yeah, it's been such a cool thing, and I'm really excited to like explore the rest of the games as well, and sort of like kind of get more into each specific game and try to beat them if I can, because yeah, the game is like fantastic. Definitely one of like the hidden gems, if you will, of this year, because this game was actually like shown off like 7 years ago or some shit, and it took them 7 years to make this shit, which makes sense because there's like 50 fucking games in here. So yeah, it's just super cool project. You know, if you're into NES games or just super creative stuff like this, then I definitely recommend it. It's only $25 too, which is like a steal because like some of these games are longer than an hour, so you gain at least like 50 hours at least out of this game, probably way more than that. So yeah, I definitely think the value is there. The creativity is there too. It's just really cool. One of the coolest indie games I've played in a while. So definitely recommend checking it out. It's only on PC right now, unfortunately. So hopefully it could go on Switch because I'm sure it could find a really good audience on that platform. But yeah, super cool game. Next is, I had to do it. Secret Agent fucking Clank. So, you know, so it came out. I had to plat it. This is the last Ratchet and Clank game I had to plat. You know, I have platted every single Ratchet and Clank game with a trophy list, even All for One and Full Frontal Assault. I've platted every single fucking game. So if you deny my dedication to this dumb series, then you know I don't know what to tell you. But either way, Secret Agent Clank is always a weird game to talk about because I actually think it does improve a lot from Size Matters, but also like not. So it kind of equals out. So like I think the core gameplay of Clank, Quark, and Ratchet are really good. Like I like the Clank levels being more sneaky base. You know, they're obviously not Sly Cooper levels of like good, but like, you know, they're pretty fine, I guess. You know, they kind of mix that stuff with normal Ratchet and Clank gameplay, so you're still shooting guys and stuff. I've always loved the Quark levels as a kid, and I still do now. You know, they're funny, they're fun. Sometimes they go on a little too long, but I still really enjoy the Quark levels a lot. And the Ratchet levels are a lot of fun too. Like I think they really refined Ratchet's gameplay from Size Matters to this, because Ratchet basically feels like his PS2 counterpart. The guns actually do damage now. Like I feel like every weapon feels pretty viable. And the arena challenges are just fun. I always like arena combat in Ratchet. The problem with this game is to just like Size Matters, there's just too many gimmicks. Like this game would have been perfect if it was just Clank, Quark, and Ratchet. That's enough variety right there. But no, they have to add gadget bots. They have to have vehicle missions. They have to have rhythm game shit. Like, it's just, like, too much. Like, I honestly feel like Quark and Ratchet are fine. Like, I think they get enough content. I feel like Clank's solo levels, he just doesn't get enough stuff. Like, I feel like there's maybe 3 full planets as Clank, and, like, that's it. Everything else has to be, like, a gimmick. Like, oh, here's the gadget bots, or here's a rhythm game, or here's a vehicle mission, which technically counts as a Clank level. And it's just, like, I just want to play as Clank, bro. I feel like in his own game, I don't get to play as him as much as I wanted it to. And you know, a lot of the time, these mini games are just like so like whatever. Like they just feel like they're just padding out time, just to pad out time. Like I would rather you delete all these dumb mini games and just have one more Clank level. Like that, I'm like so serious. Same thing with Size Matters. Like it just deleted all the dumb side content that was like bad and just added another Ratchet planet. That would have been perfect. And like that's all you really have to do. But I guess they were afraid kids would get bored or something. I don't know. Like, I think, again, like I said, the game has enough variety with just Ratchet, Clank, and Quark. Like, that's way more than enough. And then you just gotta keep adding shit to it. I'm like, this is just too much, man. Like, by the end game, I was just like, bro, I'm like not even playing as Clank anymore. Like, it's just like a bunch of random shit. So, I still like the game. You know, I still have a lot of nostalgia for it. And I still think Size Matters and Secret Agent Clank are basically equal, being like they're like 6 out of 10s or whatever. But I still enjoy the game. You know, I can't. I hate to admit it, but I still like the PSP Ratchet games, okay? Like, I still have a lot of nostalgia for them. I know they're not great. I know they're not even good, but I still have a soft spot for them. So, and I wouldn't really recommend them to anyone, like, unless you're a really diehard Ratchet and Clank fan. But they're there now, and I think it's cool that anyone could just play them to get a full opinion on them. They're just right there, $10. I think that's a fair price. So, yeah, moving on from there. Lastly, last game was Epic Mickey. So I'm not done with this game yet. I'm like about a quarter of the way through. I don't know. I'm like 35% of the way through. Apparently, that's what PlayStation tells me. So, Epic Mickey Rebrushed, is made by Purple Lamp. So they're the same people that remade the SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom, and they made Cosmic Shake as well. So now they're doing this game. And I think in terms of just the remaster portion of the game, it's great. Like, the game looks fucking great. The art style is really retained from the original game. It just looks a lot better. They added new moves for Mickey now. Like, he could dash, ground pound, he could run, which is really good because, Mickey's default walk speed is pretty slow. So it's nice to like run around. And the game just feels very responsive and just really good. And no pointer controls either. You can just use it with your right stick now, which is great. So the game like controls and looks great. Like, I think all that stuff is really good. It's kind of just down to if you enjoyed Epic Mickey to begin with. And, as a kid, I was very hyped for this game because, the marketing for this game was insane back in the day. It's just like, oh, Epic's all like, I'm sorry, Mickey's all epic and fucking like edgy and shit.
Good
like,
or bad. Oh my God. Is he going to paint stuff or destroy it?
Yeah,
Like, okay.
fucking morality systems and shit. Like, whoa, this looks so cool. And then the game came out and, it was a little defanged a bit. It's not as dark as, people were hoping it to be. The game itself is very like, there's a lot of like fetch quests, and it's not like a standard 3D platformer, and a lot of people jumped off from that. I know the camera was awful too in the original release as well. So it was just like, it was a lot of things like that really brought the game down to be very disappointing. But I think now playing the game as like an adult and, just kind of like gain over that fact, I'm like, I think the game is pretty good. I still think the quest structure just feels very weird. It's just very half-baked. It's just like, oh, give me this. It's just all fetch quests, right? Like, and it doesn't really amount to much. That you get like a power spark or some e-tickets or whatever, but none of that collectibles really do much. Like, you just like, I think you're gonna have way more than enough power sparks by the end of the game to like get through things anyway. So it's like whatever. So yeah, a lot of side quests don't really feel that rewarding. The levels themselves are pretty cool. Okay, as someone who has worked in Magic Kingdom in the past, it is cool to see it get reconstructed in this game. Obviously, that's not something I could have said as a kid, but now I'm like, oh, it's kind of cool that like they reconstructed Main Street or they did like Tomorrowland, and like it's really faithful to how the parks look, and I think that's really cool as someone that's like kind of experienced that now. But so I could appreciate the level design in that way. But I know you were saying like you didn't like how, each level kind of just feels like you go to an area, you do a thing, and then you like leave. And that's basically what it is. I think the structure of this game is like very weird. It's not like a typical 3D platformer. It's like every time you go to a new area, you have a problem to solve, you do it, then you leave, right? And I think it's fine. Like, I think the game is still fun to play, but I think sometimes you just want to like run and jump, right? You don't want to just like do like, oh, find this thing or do this thing. It kind of gets a bit exhausting. So I don't know. What do you think so far?
Yeah, I mean, as someone who didn't play Epic Mickey as a kid, it did come out on my birthday that year, and I just never bought it because I was like, $50 for like a game that I hear is like not that great. I just never pulled the trigger on it. Then when I did buy it, I just never got around to playing it. But you know what? Fuck it. I'll spend $50-$60 on this brand new remaster because why not? And yeah, I mean, first up, the game looks gorgeous. It looks so beautiful. I'm like, damn, like Purple Lamp really went all out. Like the intro cutscene really like took me away because I have a very recent memory of watching that on the Wii on my TV, and I was like, oh, okay, like the game looks okay, still for like a Wii game, it still looks impressive, but like the remaster, oh my God, like they went above and beyond to make it look very, very good on the PlayStation 5. And then just playing it, I only played like the first hour on the Wii, so playing it on the PS5 now, I was like, okay, like I know how to get through like this first area and sort of like the platforming and sort of like the fetch quest stuff. But once you really get into it, like a few hours in, then it's like, okay, yeah, like you could see the structure where it's like you go to this level, you do this thing, and then you get the plot MacGuffin, and then you go back to the main area, then you keep doing that until you fix whatever you got to do with Oswald. And you know what? I do like the story where it's like, they are piecing together like Disney history in a way. But it does suck that like it still is just like, like cutscenes with like, just like mumble mouth kind of thing. And I'm like, okay, yeah, like I guess I have to like pay attention and like read a little bit. But you know what? That's fine. I think that this game is definitely obviously targeted towards kids. And I think that if this was a kid's like first like 3D platformer, I think it's okay. I think the fetch quest stuff is definitely not what I would see in like a 3D platformer setting, because it's just like, it doesn't really get like what the genre overall really is. It's sort of just like, oh, like you're just doing these things for like whatever Disney characters that they want you to help out with. So I think the game is fine. It's okay. I think if you really want to try out Epic Mickey today, this is definitely your way to do it. Maybe wait for a price drop, but I don't know. Because like if Purple Lamp does want to do Epic Mickey 2 Rebrush, you're probably going to have to support it now rather than later. But yeah, I think the game is fine. It's okay. I definitely was not expecting anything amazing, like you said, Damian, because I am very well aware of like the reputation the original game on the Wii had. But obviously, now that it is on like modern hardware, not having the whole motion controls and stuff like that definitely helps. The only thing I use for motion controls is like painting, because like you could like tilt like the DualSense controller, which you can turn off if you want, but I kept it on because like aiming with like a right analog stick is always finicky or whatever. But yeah, you're never really punished within this game either. Like you can die as many times as you want. Sometimes if like a platform's like too far away and like there's like poison underneath it, I just tank it. I just like eat it and then I just keep going because I'm just like, whatever. Like I'm not really going to need the extra health points later on. And if I do, I'll just restart by like the nearest checkpoint because the game is very forgiving in that aspect. So yeah, if you want to try out Epic Mickey, this is definitely your way to do it. I would not recommend trying it on the Wii just because I feel like that's a lot of like getting out of the way. Like you got to get out the Wii, you got to get out the motion controller, set up like the Wii sensor bar and everything. And I feel like that those controllers are very much outdated. Now you could just play it on like a regular controller and just have at it.
Yeah, it was always a game that felt like a bit too overly ambitious. Like, it was just like, oh, we want to like, have this whole cool world with the wasteland with all these forgotten cartoons, and we want to have a quest system. We have a morality system with paint and thinner and stuff, and I feel like none of it really amounts to like much. Like probably the only thing that really amounts to anything is the paint and thinner stuff, where you could choose to kill any major boss either with paint or with thinner, and like that kind of like dictates stuff. Like you get like more paint capacity or thinner capacity, and that's really about it. Like you could be an asshole in some of the quests, I guess, but it doesn't really amount to anything. So yeah, like you could definitely get 2 playthroughs if you really want to. If you want to like paint, I'm painting every boss just to like do it because I'm a good guy, I guess. But if you want to just dissolve them or whatever, you could just put thinner or whatever. So I still think that is a kind of a cool mechanic. But again, most of it is pretty like, oh, you see an invisible platform, just paint it or thin it, right? Like so it doesn't. Even that mechanic is like it's pretty like 1-2. Like it's pretty like it doesn't like go much further than that. It's still cool like paint thinner, but yeah. The game overall is still, you have to just know what to expect with Epic Mickey. I already came in knowing that the game is like, okay at best. And I'm enjoying it more than I did originally. So that's good. And, all that being said, it is a good remake. I think Purple Lamp did a good job. It's more just with the structural problem with the game itself because, you can't really fix that. So, yeah. All right. So last thing I have here is Daredevil Season 2. So I finished Daredevil Season 2. And I really liked it. I think it's a good connecting season. It does a lot for a lot of the characters. A lot of them kind of spoilers, by the way, for season 2. A lot of the characters go their own way. Like Foggy's like doing his own stick with his own lawyer stuff. Matt and Murdoch, Nelson and Murdoch are now gone because Matt was, not really helping a lot this season.
Matt's like, I am Daredevil now. Like, he doesn't give a fuck.
So he went full Daredevil mode. Karen became full reporter, which I kind of predicted in the last. I'm like, okay, she's probably going to become a reporter. So and she did. So, she's doing her stuff. Poor lady gets really fucked up this season.
Yes.
Like, I really feel bad. She is one of my favorite characters because I do feel like she does, like, do a lot for the plot. But yeah, she really got messed up a lot with all the Punisher stuff and tried to do the reporting and, she almost died like 5 times in this season. But yeah, and I again, that stuff was great. I love the Punisher stuff. The whole beginning bits with Punisher were great. Just him fighting him and, them trying to figure out what the fuck is wrong with him. And then, I didn't expect it to go on throughout the whole season, but I really liked that. Like, I really enjoyed them really figuring out, like, what the fuck is going on with him and all the conspiracies with, like, the Sting and how it all went wrong and shit and how that bred to be the Punisher and stuff. Like, I thought that stuff was very engaging, and I always loved the conversations with Punisher and Karen. I thought those were really good as well. Like, I love their like weird like relationship thing they were doing. Like, I thought that was really neat. Yeah. Honestly, the only thing I really didn't like, well, it's not even like really didn't like. The only thing I felt that was weak about the season is the hand. Like, the hand just feels like generic bad guys. Like, it's whatever. Like, the fight scenes are great. Like, like ninjas are cool and stuff. But, compared to someone like Kingpin, it's just like, man, this is just like, yeah, we're evil. Yep, here we are. Yep. And they're very cagey about, Yeah, they're very cagey about telling you whatever the fuck anything is. They're just like, oh, the black sky. It's like, what is black sky? It's like, oh, it's dangerous. And like, it's Electra, but it's dangerous and stuff. And like, okay, whatever. Like, they're very cagey about all this stuff. And just like, I don't know, it just doesn't feel as compelling as like Kingpin. Again, they're fine as just a normal villain because I feel like most of the season, it really isn't even really about them until the end of the season.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, and most of it is about the personal drama, about Matt becoming more about Daredevil and like severing so many ties and how that's bad for him and blah, blah, blah. You know, the standard superhero stuff he goes through, which is still great. Like, I'm saying that's a bad. No, that stuff is very engaging. But those are setting up a lot of stuff like with the Kingpin, you know, coming back. You know, he's in jail, but he's gained a bunch of power in jail. Like, I fucking love the scene when Matt just met with Kingpin, like just as himself. And he was talking to him and they were having the whole thing. And then, you know, Kingpin freaked the fuck out. Like that scene was very good. I'm very excited to see him come back in season 3. So yeah, I thought all the setup was great. The Punisher stuff was great. It's just the hand stuff was just like, yeah, it's whatever. Elektra is good though. Like I do like Elektra's character. You know, being like this weirdo. So she was not a weirdo that I thought she was gonna be, but I like that. You know, it was good to see Stick again too. Like Stick, I love that character too, just because he's so much of a dickhead. But you know,
yes,
he's right about all that stuff. But yeah, overall, I thought it was a good season, just to like sort of set up for season 3. And you know, I guess Defenders does deal with the hand stuff, I'm imagining.
Yes, that's pretty much where it all comes together, because I'm pretty sure the other shows start to deal with the hand a little bit, especially Iron Fist. I can't remember exactly because it's been years. But yeah, you know, Daredevil season 2, I didn't rewatch all of it. I got up to the point where the Punisher was let go out of prison. But I know the rest of it. You know, he meets up with his old lieutenant. He fucking kills Mr. Krabs.
Mr. Krabs is dead.
And, you know, you also reminded me that, it is revealed that Elektra is the Black Sky and all that other stuff. But I mean, starting off with the Punisher stuff, obviously that is like the fucking highlight. The goddamn rooftop scene, everyone talks about it because it is so goddamn good, just seeing the morality between both of those characters and sort of how they deal with the violence that's going on within Hell's Kitchen and everything like that. Like, that is just peak. And obviously the other scene that they shared together where he's talking about, you know, the 1 batch, 2 batch, penny and dime, unforgettable. And obviously all of that stuff leads into his own series, which, you know, all of that stuff with like the conspiracy and whatnot, it all comes to a forefront within that show. So, you know, Damian, if you want to watch that, you can.
I am really curious. Yeah, because like I really like the Punisher's character a lot in this show. Like, I think they did a great job with him, and it actually does make me like, maybe I will watch the Punisher series after this, because I very much am interested in seeing like where his story goes as well.
Yeah, it's very self-contained. You know, I think Karen shows up in a few episodes, but nothing too crazy. It's pretty much setting up the Punisher's own little circle of characters and all of that other stuff. Season 2, you don't have to watch if I'm being fucking honest. Like, season 2 is kind of just like whatever. But anyways, Daredevil season 2, great, fantastic. Elektra is always, you know, fantastic, fun to watch. You know, she is definitely the little devil on Matt Murdock's shoulder that's like, hey, you know, like, help me out here.
Yeah, she's very like Black Cat.
Yeah.
Like a psycho. So
yeah, she is fucking crazy, but also hot, you know, so I guess that excuses it.
I mean, they got that in common. Yeah, I mean, it's very like, this was very like Spider-Man coded, but like way more violent and like extreme. Yes. And I do like that, because I feel like, you know, Spider-Man also has a no-kill rule, but I feel like it doesn't, like, you know, it does come up, but it's not as much as like Daredevil, because, you know, he's more edgy in general, and like, you know, it's, if I kill someone, I'll go over the edge or whatever. Like, Spider-Man, I feel like doesn't really have that moment unless he has like the black suit or whatever. So it's kind of cool to have that morality kind of be more drilled into Matt's head, especially because this season does a good job. You know, he still tries to hold true to the no-kill rule, but with Punisher and Elektra, and, you know, him seeing that the justice system is kind of shit and not really doing anything, you know, especially with Kingpin still being a problem, he's like, maybe I should just kill people and stuff. Like, but then, you know, he obviously snaps out of his, like, no, I'm not going to do that. But, you know, I do think like that morality system makes a lot more sense for like someone like Daredevil, and I think they do a good job with it in this show, and I'm sure that's going to come up in like season 3 or something with like Kingpin. It's like, if I just kill him, he won't be a fucking problem. But, you know, it's not like, you know, how that works. So, yeah, very good show. I'm very much invested. Like, I do want to keep watching it, but there's a lot of stuff happening. Yeah. I want to make sure I have a clean slate so I could like watch, you know, Defenders. It's, you know, Defenders is whatever. But I do want to watch Defenders. And then season 3, I want to make sure I have nothing else going on and just like binge the shit out of that. So, yeah.
Yeah. You know, just one last thing. I think that this season really does bring into the forefront of like Matt's life and Daredevil's Daredevil's life and sort of how they collide so much together. Because, you know, Matt runs off doing a lot of different bullshit with Elektra, and that obviously affects the case that they're doing with, you know, Frank Castle and everything like that. And Matt was the one to really initiate that. And Froggy's like, yo, what the fuck are we doing? And, you know, the whole time he's not even there. And obviously, Froggy knows why he's doing that, and then, you know, Karen, it's like, oh, now he has like a sort of a relationship with her, which, you know, was like a big thing within the comics. And, you know, they sort of bring that into the show, and I really like those, you know, first few episodes where they're sort of, you know, dating or whatever. It's sort of like figuring that shit out, and obviously, you know, it fucking doesn't work out because it's Matt. Matt is always a fucking mess, and, you know, it's very funny how like the season starts with like you know, Foggy and Matt sort of walking down the street, and you know, he's like, you know, cross my heart before I die or whatever, you know, like they're gonna be like best friends forever. That, you know, like that final scene that I just watched between them in the apartment, he's like, it's not gonna change who I am, just fucking do it without me or whatever. And I'm like, damn, bro, like shit happened really fast. But yeah, you know, Daredevil's so good, you know, even though like season 2 is definitely like the weakest season, there's definitely a lot of great moments within this season that should not be skipped over whatsoever. So
yeah, I agree. Like, while season 1 is like season 1 is like a 10 out of 10, like, it's very fucking good. Like, season 2 is still good. Like, you still need it, you know, for obviously for season 3, but I feel like you don't really get those character moments without having like a slower season in general. Like, you know, not everything has to be bang 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 all the time. It's fine to have like more of a, you know, character building season, which I think this season was. And the hand was just there just to give Daredevil something to do too, you know. So obviously I know it's important for his shit too. Like, I know, like, whatever. But, you know, the hand is still like kind of whatever. They're kind of boring, but, you know, it is what it is. Still great season though. I'm enjoying the show a lot and can't wait for season 3.
All right, so now let's talk about some of the general news. I didn't order this properly, so fuck it. We'll just start off with Thunderbolts. They finally dropped that teaser trailer that I believe was shown off at San Diego Comic-Con. And yeah, this is a great trailer. I think it really brought back, I guess, like the old MCU vibes. I think that this movie has like a clear direction of sort of just like having like these outcasts of different, you know, villains, but also some anti-heroes kind of thing sort of coming together, dealing with whatever threat that is among them. So yeah, you know, I'm very excited for this. Obviously, Florence Pugh is always fucking fantastic in whatever movie she's goddamn in. But also just seeing, you know, everyone else come together and sort of seeing how their stories are going to come to a head. Because, you know, you got U.S. Agent over here who is obviously, you know, sort of dealing with like, oh shit, like I did that stuff within the Falcon and Winter Soldier show. So, you know, seeing all that stuff come ahead into here, you know, even though that show is like several years old now, you know, seeing him back within another MCU project is kind of crazy. But yeah,
it's gonna, I thought the trailer looked good too, but it's gonna be hard to remember like what the fuck happened.
Oh yeah, like everything. Yeah, because there's characters from like Ant-Man and the Wasp, Ant-Man 3 and all this other stuff. So
yeah, because this one is like pretty connected to all that, and it's been fucking like quite a while since like Falcon and Winter Soldier and Hawkeye. Like, I think it's been like 2-3 years, right? I can't remember at this point. But, you know, it's gonna be like, obviously I remember the characters, but if they start talking to specifics, I'm gonna be like, oh yeah, right, that happened. So but yeah, you know, I'm pretty excited for this. I hope, you know, the MCU, like we always been saying, you know, been in a rut the last bit. So I'm hopeful that this movie could sort of bring it back. I know people are really cynical about the Thunderbolts in general because, like, oh, it's a bunch of like B-list people. Like, who gives a shit? Unless in terms of like, you know, heroes or whatever. But I think it could do something interesting. You know, obviously there's that sprinkle of Marvel humor in there. You know, you always gotta have that. But I think for the most part, yeah, it looks pretty good. I'm hoping for a pretty like, you know, different movie because, you know, these are all technically like more anti-hero-y type people. Well, not really. Kate Bishop, like, she's like more of a hero. But, you know, everyone else is kind of like more of like, you know, more in the anti-hero type side, right? So it's going to be interesting to see how they kind of play into this and what situations they get themselves into. I would say I want it to be a bit darker than a usual MCU movie, but it looks like it's going more for like, it looks like a standard MCU movie just from the tone of the trailer, right? So, yeah, I'm hopeful for this one. It's kind of cool. We're getting 2 movies that are more like, I don't know how, like more grounded, I guess. Like, they're more like, you know, not superheroes. Like, they're just like doing like, you know, military operation type stuff. Like, you know, with the Captain America movie and now this one. So it's going to be kind of cool to have those back to back. So, but yeah, I guess we'll see when it actually does come out. I think next year, or was it this year? No, next year. Yeah. May. Goddamn. All right. So it's going to be out for a while from now. But yeah, it looks pretty good. Hopefully they can stick the landing.
Yeah, and hopefully we get that Daredevil trailer soon. But anyways.
Yes, yeah, because now, well, let me finish it first, then I go on. Alrighty, PlayStation 30th Anniversary Collection. So this was a collection, obviously, of the 30th anniversary of PlayStation. So you could buy a PlayStation 5 or a PlayStation 5 Pro with the coloring of the original PlayStation. So it's nice and gray. They were also selling the controller, and they have the, like the pink like square button, the blue X button. They have all like the standard colorings you would imagine, and it does look really nice. But obviously, I pay like extra for it. I think I don't know if it was more or not. I think the PS5 Pro like anniversary collection was like $1,000 or some shit, because it comes with like
it comes with everything,
controller.
literally everything. So
yeah, so it comes with everything. I mean, it sold out like instantly. So yeah, but it does look cool. Again, would I buy another console for it? No. Would I buy a Pro? No. But it is cool that it exists, and people are happy for it. I mean, my brother got a Pro because he's a fucking shill for like whenever there's a new thing. He's like, I have to have the new gaming thing. I mean, he doesn't play on PC, so I guess it makes more sense. I'm not gonna bother buying the PS5 Pro, but I guess I could check it out and like report on the podcast how good things look, since I technically would be able to look at it. But the PS5 Pro pricing is like a whole thing. Is $700 or $1,000 for this shit. How much is too much for a console? And I do think $700 is just too much for a console at this point. I think consoles always should be cheaper alternatives to PCs. And I mean, PCs aren't getting any cheaper either. But I feel like if you spend a bit more on a really good gaming PC, you could do more with that than with a console. I'm saying that as someone who has been playing my console a lot more recently than my PC. But I still think like, it's more wise to just build a PC for $1,000 than like get like a $700 PS5, right? Because you could just do more. You could like work on a PC. You do normal PC stuff, and you can play a shit ton of games and PC exclusive games. So
yeah. The whole PlayStation 5 Pro shit, we talked about it last time, but the whole bundle being $1,000, and you get pretty much everything within this collection. I think that is a little more fair, because like I think the DualSense Edge controller itself is like $200, and you're also getting
I have one.
an extra DualSense. You're also getting a bunch of other random accessories and whatnot. So if you wanted a PS5 Pro, and you were able to get one of these, congrats. There's only going to be 12,300 units for that console, so obviously the value of it is only going to go up. So if you're a collector like that, then sure, go for it. I didn't go for that. I only got the standard DualSense controller, because that's available at like multiple retailers, and that wasn't going to be a pain in the ass to get, as long as I was there at my computer when pre-orders went up at the specific retailer that I wanted, which I did get one, so thank God for that. Everything is going to launch on November 21st, and I believe the Pro launches earlier in November, so pretty much exactly on that date. But this whole 30th anniversary, this was sort of another thing where people were like, we're back with like PlayStation kind of thing, which is very funny, because I mean, this looks very fucking good. Like, everything about this collection looks amazing. The packaging, the fact that it looks like the original PlayStation shit, like that is more than enough reason to keep those boxes. I hope I don't see any of those in the fucking trash, because you guys are trolling, because like the packaging is like A1 in and of itself. But PlayStation obviously just capitalizing on a huge milestone of 30 years within the games industry.
I just love the buttons are the colors again. Like, yes. I love the DualSense. The DualSense is probably one of my favorite PlayStation controllers now. But like, I miss having the colored buttons. They look really nice.
All right, so now let's talk about the Sonic Central. A lot of shit was announced here, so I'm not sure how I'm going to do this. I'm going to just talk about one thing, and then you could pick another thing. So I guess I'll start with the Sonic DC thing, because that was obviously like a big thing that they sort of teased earlier, and then they gave us more details. So they first teased that Shadow was Batman, and people were like, holy shit, you're Shadow, like what the fuck are they doing? But now it's like a general like Sonic DC collaboration. So obviously we've got Shadow as Batman, got Knuckles as Superman, Amy as Wonder Woman, Sonic as the Flash, Silver as Green Lantern, and Tails as Cyborg.
They didn't forget.
So they got pretty much the entire Justice League here with all 5 iconic Sonic characters, which I think is dope. Obviously, DC Comics, you're going to have a comic book series that's going to come out within March 2025, a 5-issue miniseries. You got Ian Flynn writing it, which is exciting, fantastic. He's doing a lot more Sonic stuff, not just within the comics, but also after Sonic Frontiers, he's also been doing a lot of stuff within the games and other media. And there's going to be collectibles and other stuff coming in the fall of next year. On top of that, the collab is going to go into 2026. So just seeing Sonic being able to collab with a big IP property like DC is always exciting. I think that is like the main difference thing. Like when you watch Sonic Central is like, this is why Sonic might be better than Mario, because Mario is very much like, like cookie cutter, like Disney kind of thing, where it's like he doesn't really do a lot of like crazy shit. Sonic is like, all right, we're gonna do whatever the fuck we want, and like it's always cool to see him do new collaborations, especially one like this.
Yeah, it is like a really cool collaboration. Obviously everyone freaked out when Shadow was Batman. I mean, that's like perfect right there. But also seeing like Sonic as Flash, I'm like, yeah, that looks awesome. And it being like just an actual like comic like run for a little bit, that's really cool. Like I thought it was just gonna be a cute little animation thing, or maybe like a little promo image. But them like going the whole 9 yards for this type of crossover, I'm like, that's really neat. So I'll definitely see if I could read them online or something, or buy them, because it does look really cool. I mean, I love the idea that like Silver is like a relevant character. Like they've been sneaking to him a lot. He's been in a lot of stuff lately. So I'm like, all right, are you guys warming up to Silver again? It's been a while. So like, I know the game he was in was awful, but come on. But either way, I think all of them would look really cool. I think they all match the characters they are. I'm happy like Sonic is like Flash and not like Superman, because he's the main character. Like, he has to be fucking Flash. He's Sonic, right? So yeah, really cool crossover. The animation they showed was also amazing. Like that just looks really well animated too. And I think Sega in general has just been feeling very confident about Sonic lately. I don't know if it's because of the movies or because of Frontiers, but I feel like a lot of their marketing has been a lot more like confidence, like in the brand of Sonic. Like they don't feel like ashamed of him. Like I know a lot of people were talking about on Twitter, like they felt like very like meta jokey about him over the last few years. So it's just like Sonic games suck, haha, stuff like that. I didn't feel that as much, but I do feel like we're playing it really safe with Sonic the last few years. So it's kind of cool to see him back into the more shonen-y like type style of like, what we kind of remembered as kids during like his early 3D days. So I think that's pretty cool. So yeah. Alrighty, so next we got like a bunch of other shit. I guess I'll talk about some of the game stuff. So I know like Sonic Rumble. I think some people were playing this in Tokyo Game Show, because I saw some people were like playing it. I mean, the game looks fun. It's gonna be on PC apparently, so that's really cool. So, because if this was just on mobile, like I don't care, because unless the game was like Dream Team, because Dream Team was good. I just feel like I'm not gonna play on my phone, right? I'd rather play on a PC or console. So I'm really happy something like this is going on PC, because I think it could do well on there. I think it should release on Switch too. I think it could get a good audience on there. And just playing a bunch of Fall Guy type mini games with Sonic characters and Sonic mechanics, that does sound like a good time. And if it could be fun, then sure, why not? I mean, I like the Fall Guys structure quite a lot. I mean, I like Fall Guys in general. I just think the game kind of fell off because of various reasons or whatever. But I think the formula is still really good, having like this party royale type game of like platforming and jumping, doing crazy dumb shit, right? So I feel like Sonic kind of matches that vibe pretty well. So hopefully the game is good. Hopefully it's not full of microtransactions, or not too many, I hope. But apparently it's gonna be available on winter. So maybe we'll check that out, maybe play some and let you guys know.
Yeah, Sonic Rumble. I'm very excited that it is actually coming to PC. I think that is like a huge thing, just because I think if it was stuck on mobile, they would plateau at a certain point. But I feel like if it's on PC, people are able to stream it, talk about it, play it with their friends more, because obviously like, mobile gaming is still like big and popular, but it's only with like, like the mobile, like actual like mobile games kind of thing, with things like Sonic Dream Team and Sonic Rumble. Those are things that I think are very much playable on like a PC or console. So, seeing that they recognize that, hey, like Sonic Rumble is going to launch on PC this winter, that's going to be dope. So we're definitely going to be playing that when that comes out. I guess the next things, I'll just fire through some of these real quick. We got Super Neo, Metal Sonic, and Sonic Speed Simulator, which is really random and really dope, just because
that was awesome. But.
Yeah, that was a character that they introduced within obviously Sonic Heroes, but then the super form within the IDW comics. So I was like, okay, like they are actually like going into that within this little piece of Roblox material. We also got Chow Tales, which is going to be an 8-episode animated shorts. Sonic Lego set. Sonic's going to be in Super Monkey Ball Rumble. You got like a shadow skin or whatever. That was pretty cheeky for them to do. And then some other merchandise and things within the Sonic mobile game sphere.
Yeah. So, well, I don't know if you mentioned they're adding Shadow to Dream Team too, which is pretty cool.
Also
yeah,
that.
so obviously, I don't imagine he's gonna play much differently than Sonic because every character in that game had like a clone, basically. Like,
Yeah.
it's basically like Sonic Heroes, where there was like a power character, a speed character, and a flying character, and I'm pretty sure Shadow's just gonna be like Sonic, but it's still cool that he's there. Amy was Sonic's clone, but it's cool to see that Shadow's gonna be there because you're a Shadow, so makes sense. And that game was really good. I'm really hoping for a console port at some point.
Yes.
I really do hope we get one because it's already been like, I don't even know when that game came out.
It's about to be a year. It's about to be a year. Yes.
I think we're gonna see it next year. That we might start seeing like, oh, we're gonna port it to like Switch 2 or some shit or something. Because I would love to play that game again with like an actual controller. Because not all of us had a backbone. Like a backbone thing. So it'd be nice to actually play with a controller. And like I would want to play more of the bonus challenge. Yep, right there.
Yeah, this stupid thing.
Yeah. So it would be cool to actually do more of the bonus challenges and stuff. 'Cause I kind of did the bare minimum because, I don't like playing on my phone still. But the game was excellent. So it'd be cool to actually play it with like an actual controller. But either way, Shadow's going to be in Dream Team, and that's pretty cool.
All right. Do you want to do the Sonic Generation stuff real quick?
So obviously we got more Sonic X Shadow Generation stuff, and we got an actual story trailer, and this was really cool. So like, we saw like fucking Mephiles in this shit,
Yes.
which is like insane. And I'm trying to find him. Like, yeah, he looks fucking great. Like he was gonna do like the kill move on him too. He was about to do like the fucking Sonic like backstab move, but Shadow dodged it because he's like better, I guess. And then we see like a little brief hint of like Maria in here. We see her in-game model. I think they showed a better in-game model of her, like in Tokyo Game Show, just like a full render of her and Gerald Robotnik. But
Yes.
I really like where they're going with this story, where it's like he's kind of being like has to like confront his past, and it feels like he's gonna do the thing where it's like he tries to save Maria, but like you can't. Like she has to die in order for him to be who he is, because
Yes.
that was the whole message of Sonic Adventure 2. Her dying and shit, and him finding like a place or whatever. So it's gonna be cool to see him confront that in this game. Like fully, right? Because I feel like the last time that really happened was probably Shadow the Hedgehog, I guess, with any hints of Maria, because obviously she didn't get brought up in any other game after that. I mean, Shadow barely got any screen time after that. In general, like Sonic 06 kind of the last time he's really had a presence. So it's really cool to see them go back to this and like how like PTSD he got from all this shit, right? Because Sonic with the time meter is just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna meet up with classic Sonic and do fun stuff. Shadow getting hit by the time meter is just like, oh okay, I'm gonna get hit by PTSD. That's fun. So yeah, it looks great. I'm very excited to see where they're going with the story. And they're gonna have like a prologue thing, which the first episode already came out. The Dark Beginnings, that's going to sort of like lead into Sonic X Shadow Generations.
Yes.
I guess could we just talk about it?
I mean, you watched the first episode, right?
I did. Yes, I did.
Yes, of course. I mean, that first
It's
episode was fucking.
peak,
Yes, that was
bro.
dope. That was
What
dope.
All right, so like, so it kind of hints at that. It kind of looks like just a standard flashback with like Sonic and Shadow and Maria just talking and shit, and then fucking Emerald pops out from Sonic Battle, and then Shadow and him have like a really awesome fight. Like it looks amazing. Apparently all this was animated in Blender, apparently, which is like insane. I'm like, wow, because it looks really good. I think when they're talking it looks a little stilted, but like when they're like actually fighting, it looks great. Like it looks really good. It's like a mix of like 3D animation and like some 2D like sort of assets being drawn around, and yeah, it just looks great. And then it kind of goes more into like the mindfucky territory where it's like, he's kind of getting sent all over the place in time, where you see the Gerald Robotnik like fucking firing squad bit, and like fucking flashbacks of fucking Maria die. It's so funny when like they show Maria getting shot in the heart. Like it's not like like an actual thing.
They are
but
not subtle.
it's just funny how like the video is marked for kids, and just seeing that like, yep, for kids. Little kid getting shot. So yeah, it was awesome. And just seeing the shot with Shadow like looking at the destroyed moon from the Ark, I'm like, it was just peak. It was really good. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just seeing the story trailer first up is like amazing, fantastic. The fact that they have actual new in-game renders of Gerald and Maria, I think is dope, because obviously like they play a huge role within Shadow's story. Just having them there is like fantastic, awesome. And I think, ever since Sonic 06, we haven't had like actual like human characters within the Sonic universe. So seeing them again, obviously significant to the story, but also just dope in and of themselves. And like you said, I guess like the story going in that direction of being like, yeah, Shadow has to confront his past, and sort of, Maria dying is being a part of that, I think is going to be awesome, fantastic. Giving Shadow his own game in this fashion is obviously a lot better than Shadow the Hedgehog in 2005. But also, them also just pulling elements from that game to this one. Everything has a reason, everything has its purpose within Shadow's lore and Shadow's history, and I'm glad that he is now having a huge spotlight here, and I hope that the year of Shadow doesn't necessarily end here. He still plays a major role within the Sonic sort of games and everything like that we see him more past this. And obviously with the whole episode 1 of Dark Beginnings is just fucking awesome. It just brought me back to watching Sonic X when I was a kid, just with like much better animation and actual just like good story that is relevant to the Sonic games. And yeah, I was just floored by like the full 5 to 6 minute sort of animation that we got here, just because it looks like that they spent a lot of time and effort not just writing it, but also just like animating it, obviously just like making sure that this looks as good as possible. And the fact that it is free on YouTube is like even better, because like now everyone can watch it, everyone can enjoy this little piece of Sonic and Shadow Generations piece of media.
It's just kind of crazy how hard they're going with this game. Like, I keep forgetting Generations is coming out with it. Like, it's it feels like its own game, which is insane. Like, I'm sure the game's still going to be short. I'm trying to temper my expectations still, because it still is like an extra DLC thing. But who knows? Maybe it could be just as long as Generations at this point. Because man, the game is looking really good, and I'm very excited for it to come out. Sega's really putting all the stops with this game. Like, the production value looks even better than Frontiers, and that was like a full ass game. So. Very, very excited to actually get my hands on this game, and we don't have to wait too much longer, like one more month, maybe a little less than a month, then we can finally fucking play this game, because I am very excited for it.
Yes, it is definitely going to be awesome. And then you will also get Jar Robotnik's journal if you pre-order Sonic X Shadow Generation, so that's going to be pretty dope. And then the last thing was just like a quick sizzle reel of just Sonic 3 the movie, just Jeff Fowler, the director, and also other producers and people working on the project, just talking about the movies or sort of how it is a pleasure of them to work on it, because they are big fans of the Blue Blur, and I'm sure that will reflect in the upcoming movie. I mean, all that we've seen from that first trailer, I mean, I'm sold. Like, they obviously know what they're doing, and the fact that Jeff Fowler also had a hand on the Shadow game within 2005 is also enough for me to be like, all right, like he knows how to cook, he knows how to make a good Shadow story. So
yeah, are we gonna see Black Doom, bro? Are we gonna see Black Doom? You're never seeing him in the game. I guess I can't be too greedy. But yeah, Sonic peak. That's all we gotta say.
Yeah, it's gonna be exciting.
So next we got we got a delay. So Assassin's Creed Shadows got delayed to February 14th, 2025, which is very unfortunate after we talk about other news in the state of play. But yeah, Ubisoft's kind of been going through the shit lately. I think there's been so many reports I've been seeing about Ubisoft. Like one where Star Wars Outlaws didn't sell really well at all. They really just had, they kind of just had like a bad year in general in terms of sales. Like, even though Prince of Persia was a really good game and people really liked it, it obviously didn't sell very well because, a game like that probably wasn't going to sell very well to begin with. The Avatar game didn't sell very well, and now Star Wars Outlaws isn't selling really well. And I guess Assassin's Creed was kind of a bit behind the mark of where they wanted it to be. So they're just like, okay, let's just pull it and just like delay it so it could be as best as it could possibly be, because I do think this is one of Ubisoft's like last chance before they face like really major layoffs, which would be very unfortunate. But I feel like they haven't had a W in quite a while in terms of sales numbers, that they really need this game to be like as big as Valhalla was in terms of sale numbers. But I don't even know if it's going to reach that point, because that game came out at a very particular time where the new consoles was coming out and there was nothing else to play, so a lot of people just got the new Assassin's Creed game because like, all right, why not? So and with a certain other game coming out next year that's also very similar to this game, I don't know how well this game is going to do, even if it does come out way earlier, because I don't think that certain other game which we're talking about is going to come out probably way later in next year. But still, I feel like people are going to pick the better samurai game. So that's all I'm gonna say on that. So yeah, Assassin's Creed Shadows, I don't know, like again, from the gameplay I've seen, it does look good. Like, it does look better than any of the other Assassin's Creed games. Like, I actually have an interest in it, but I still feel like, I don't know, I feel like it might be a little too late at this point, and I think Ubisoft really has to rethink their structure, how they do their games, because I don't even hate Ubisoft as much as other people. I just want them to do better. Like, they have good stuff, like they make good stuff, they just always feel like they always like are I don't know.
A little
I feel
behind.
A little bit behind and stuff, right? So yeah, and obviously I don't want anyone to lose their jobs or anything. So if they can make a better game with it being delayed, then that's good for them. But I really think this is more of a problem with production and like just troubles in their company rather than anything. So
yeah. They probably saw that, oh, fuck, we like really messed up with Star Wars Outlaws where, they allowed people to purchase a higher tier to play 3 days early. And to those people that did play 3 days early, well, shit, you're going to have to wipe your save because we had to fix a game-breaking bug. So, yeah, obviously they didn't want that to happen again. So they were like, all right, well, I know that before this announcement was made, I think the early press previews for Assassin's Creed Shadows were canceled. And I was like, what the fuck happened there? And now we know the answer. They have to delay the game to make sure that the game is actually in a stable running state. So when it launches or when press get their hands on it, it isn't going to be a shit show. Because obviously people are very hesitant on Ubisoft, especially after Outlaws, because it was like, oh my God, this is like the first ever open world Star Wars game. It's going to be big. It's going to be huge. And then it kind of just flopped on the release. Maybe not entirely flopped because it is Star Wars. It is going to sell copies either way, but it probably wasn't as big of a success as it could have been if it was an actual like good, solid, polished game that didn't have all of these problems leading up to the release. So they don't want that for Shadows. And obviously with the Ghost of Yōtei coming out, people are now thinking about, like Assassin's Creed, doing the whole feudal Japan thing. They're maybe like a few years late, maybe even a decade late. Some may argue. People have been wanting a Assassin's Creed in Japan for so goddamn long, and now that we're getting it, there's other games within the realm of like feudal Japan that have like really rich stories, really good combat, and obviously Sucker Punch is Ghost of Tsushima. Just because I love Sucker Punch, they definitely have a edge on that just because they already have Ghost of Tsushima and now the Ghost of Yōtei coming out. So obviously this is probably going to come out way before Ghost of Yōtei. If I had to guess, that game's going to come out towards the tail end of 2025. But even then, I just hope that this game is good, that it actually launches in like a stable state and not have another Outlaw situation, because I cannot see that happen again to those people that, potentially pay extra to play early, which I don't even know if this game has that, but they are offering refunds if you want it. And I know the game is coming to Steam on launch day, which is like huge because like obviously, for most of the time when it comes to Ubisoft games, you're going to have to fucking open Uplay off of Steam. And like, obviously people don't like to do that. So, I can only hope for the best just because I feel like you said, Damian, Assassin's Creed Shadows seems like a really good entry within the series and probably the most interesting one within years. Just having two main protagonists, going through feudal Japan, doing all of this crazy stuff is obviously going to be amazing, fantastic. But, let's just hope that it is able to stick the landing when it comes to releasing and also just like the game itself.
Yeah, again, like I said, Ubisoft just needs a W at this point. So if they don't get it, I don't think good things are about to happen. So yeah.
All right, so we'll move on from there. We got Nintendo. They have filed a lawsuit against Palworld, and it seems like their patents that they recently issued may be able to take them down. Who knows? So I think I'm bullshitting here when I say this, but I feel like Nintendo went after a different Pokemon sort of like thing, and they won that lawsuit or something like that, or they settled it. I don't know. I couldn't find it, but I might be bullshitting here because there's no reason why they should have taken this long. Do you have something to say, Damian? Or
I was just gonna say, I know they took down to do a lot of cease and desist on fan games, but I can't really remember them taking down any official like game that's like inspired by them. So at least not from what I remember. I mean, they could have though. So
okay, yeah, because like maybe I dreamed it. Maybe I'm fucking gaslighting myself. But them going after Palworld now, I think is reasonable. Because they're probably like, all right, well, this is obviously like a thing that obviously takes very heavy inspiration from the Pokemon IP, and they're like, okay, well, we don't want that to sort of really exist in the sort of gaming ecosystem, especially since because they are the owners of Pokemon kind of thing. So it's not exactly on copyright infringement either. I don't know the whole legal mumbo jumbo because I'm sure that they would have been able to get away with a lawsuit like that. But if it's infringing on the patents, that's going to be a little bit harder to get past. And apparently Palworld doesn't even know what the fuck those patents are, but I'm sure we'll learn more about that as the case goes further down, because I'm sure that things, especially with this one, are going to move fast. And if Palworld gets destroyed, are people going to get refunded? What the fuck is going to happen with that game? Because now it's on PlayStation. Now it's on PlayStation 5, so except for in Japan, which is very funny. But Yeah, it's going to be a very weird to see what happens with this game in particular, just because it made such a huge splash in the beginning of the year. No one really cared that it looked like Pokemon. They were just like, oh, like this is like a fun survival game that has, pals that are just like Pokemon kind of thing. And yeah.
Yeah, the problem I have with this is I would have been fine with it if they were like suing them for like copyright for some of the PAL designs, because some of them are very blatantly Pokemon. Like again, some of them, like one of them just Cinderace, just grass. Like you can't deny that. Like a lot of them are like very, very similar, but they are suing them for patent use, and I think that's a little lamer because like I think their patent, they're just like, oh, you can't like capture Pokemon, like you can't capture a creature with like a ball or something. Like someone showed like some patent they had with Pokemon, and it's like, oh, it might be too similar to that. Because if you think about other monster collecting games, so you have things like Persona or SMT, which is like you fuse demons and do that. Like that's way different. Temtem, they use cards and shit, and the Tems look different. Digimon have their own shit, right? Like they all have different stuff. So I think their main concern is like, oh, you use a ball to like catch Pokemon, and that's bad or something. I don't know. I think that's dumb though. Like I think like creature collecting stuff is just like, that's basically its own subgenre of like RPG at this point. Like that's really dumb to sue them over. I do think if they were suing them over like, using like their models, or like, I'm not saying they use their models, but I'm like, just their like Pokemon designs, I think that would have been a bit more fair, because I'm like, yeah, some of them are undeniably Pokemon. Then I think that would have been more fair. But now that they're doing with the patent things, it becomes a lot more gray. And I'm like, I don't know if I really support Nintendo really going for that approach, just because it seems like, oh, well, like no one can make a monster collecting game if you're like capturing Pokemon like in a way with like balls or whatever. I don't fucking know. So again, we don't really exactly know what the patents even are either, but I'm assuming that's what the main issue is. So if anything, I think that Palworld is gonna or Pocketpair rather, would just like maybe kind of fix the game to oblige Nintendo. Because I think Nintendo really is trying to find ways to take down Palworld any way they can, because the game did very, very well, and I'm sure they don't want it be like, oh, like kids are gonna look at Palworld and see them holding guns and be like, oh, that's like bad for our brand, right? So I'm sure like that's kind of what it's about. But yeah, it's complicated, because I've known Nintendo, like they took down Pokemon projects for way less. Like I said, like so many fan games, so many really cool fan ROMs that were just made out of passion and love, no money needed. They all got taken down because Nintendo was just like, oh, well, you're using our IP, which I guess technically is fair, because they could do that, but it's so shitty because they're not even making money. Like who cares, right? For Palworld, I would have been like, okay, that makes more sense. But with the patent stuff, makes it a bit more of a complicated issue, just because like I just hate patents in general. Like a lot of them are just like so general that I'm like why could you own that? That's dumb. But I digress. Either way, it's gonna be an interesting legal battle, and we'll see how this plays out. I'm not gonna like try to pick a side until I really know a lot of the information about what the patents exactly are. But it's undeniable that Pocketpair got very inspired by Pokemon with a lot of their designs and gameplay mechanics. But Nintendo and Game Freak are also like kind of assholes in terms of like the Pokemon IP in general too. So we'll see how this goes as more time develops, because I'm sure this is gonna be like a huge fucking deal later down in the year. So I guess we'll see.
Yeah, I got no leg in this, or horse in whatever the fuck it's called. I don't care who wins this lawsuit. It's just gonna be very interesting to see how it all plays out. Mm-hmm. All right, so last bit of news we got here is The Last of Us Season 2 trailer dropped, surprisingly, yesterday. And obviously, to those that played the game, they obviously know what the fuck's going to happen. We're not going to spoil that for you. But I think this trailer does a great job for both parties, because it's not exactly being very explicit in terms of what happens within the season, but it's a great way to set up what the relationships are going to be moving forward. So yeah, and obviously the show still looks great. Obviously the production value is still like A1 top notch kind of stuff. I'm still very interested to see how Caitlin Dever performs as Abby, because obviously people are very much like not happy with that casting, because she's not as like big and buff or whatever, which I'm just like, I guess, but like if she could still like perform like in that role, I'm all for it, because I think that she herself is a fantastic actress, and I'm sure she's been off of social media for the longest time, ever since she was officially announced. But let's just hope The Last of Us fans are just not fucking assholes. But yeah, I cannot wait to see how they actually adapt this show. I wonder what certain key moments are gonna happen when, because obviously me and Damian have both played the games now, and now it's like, okay, yeah, like when is that big moment gonna happen? When is that big moment gonna happen? And because it is going to stretch across season 2 and 3, it's going to be, interesting to see how they change the story up, how they pace it better, or whatever the case is. Because obviously that was like a big problem within The Last of Us Part 2 for me personally, where it was like, okay, yeah, like you play this half of the story, then you play that half of the story. And, as you get towards the end of it, you're like, oh, okay, like now you're like piecing it all together. But it also felt like it was sort of overstaying its welcome. It didn't feel like a complete cohesive story like The Last of Us Part 1 did, where, it was just following Joel and Ellie doing this mission that they were on. And it felt great. And obviously it made for a fantastic TV show. So how are they going to adapt that here?
Yeah, like you said, I'm just very interested to see how they adapt it and how they move things around, or maybe add extra story elements to make things flow better. There's a lot of things they could do with Last of Us Part 2, because even though I personally enjoyed the game more than I actually thought I would, there's a lot of problems in terms of pacing and like just how the game was structured and stuff. And the advantage they have as a show is that they don't really have to design gameplay elements to it. Obviously, you still need action scenes and stuff, but those could be a lot shorter than like a whole ass stealth section or whatever, because the game has to be a game still, right? So I'm really curious how that's going to fix a lot of the pacing with Last of Us Part 2, how to introduce certain characters, how general audiences are going to feel about certain decisions that the second game does. I'm very interested to see how this all goes down, because gamers are very gamers, right? Like, so I'm really interested to see how normal people are going to react to a lot of these situations. Like if they're going to act just as like negatively, or maybe they just accept it and be like, whoa, that was a crazy thing that happened, right? So I'm really curious to see how HBO approaches this season or I guess the next 2 seasons of Last of Us, and how they evolve the story. I also wonder what they're going to even do for a season 4. Like, is it just going to end with season 3? Are they going to do new original content with maybe Ellie or whatever in season 4? I don't really know. So it's going to be very interesting to see what they do with this season in particular, and where the franchise kind of evolves from here. Because we know Naughty Dog isn't making a Last of Us game at the moment. Apparently, I think they are making a new IP from what I've been hearing. So we'll see. But yeah, it's going to be very interesting either way. The first season was fantastic. Like, I think the first season was probably just a bit better than the game. And I love the first game. Like, the first game was great. But I think a lot of the extra scenes and pacing stuff they did with the show was like, wow, that was great, right? So really curious to see how they approach it with season 2. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure if they decide to go beyond season 3 and they decide to, maybe do new stuff, I'm sure at that point we would see a part 3. Kind of thing. Because I think Neil Druckmann said that he doesn't want to go beyond what the games have shown. So, yeah, maybe we'll get a Last of Us Part 3. Maybe Naughty Dog's actually doing a new IP. Who the hell knows? If you look at Naughty Dog's sort of catalog of games they've been doing.
Last of Us.
Uncharted. Last of Us.
There's like Uncharted 4 in there. Yeah.
So, hopefully we'll know more about that moving forward, because obviously Naughty Dog will benefit greatly if they make a part 3, just because that will also benefit the HBO show. So it's obviously like a double-edged sword of terms of like what they want to do moving forward. But I digress. So PlayStation State of Play, we got that earlier this week. They announced a bunch of new and exciting things, some new games, some things that may have been leaked or shown before. Just overall on this presentation, I thought it was fine. I think ending with the Ghost of Yōtei was definitely like a A1 kind of thing. Giving us another PS5 Pro little presentation was definitely a little ironic, because you did one just a few weeks ago. But obviously you can have a lot more eyes on this presentation, so why not just like rehash it out a little bit and also be able to show Sucker Punch's new game. A couple of other announcements, like the Sonic X Shadow Generations level was obviously fucking dope. Alan Wake 2 expansion, all that other stuff. So, there were definitely a few bangers here and there, but also just like a general presentation of PlayStation State of Play. It wasn't bad. It wasn't like Concord first 10 minutes kind of bad kind of thing,
Yeah, no, I thought it was actually pretty good. I don't know, it's not saying a lot, because State of Play is either mid to bad, but like I thought this was like okay. They actually had like a Nintendo style surprise at the end, because I was not expecting a first party title from this like at all, because usually don't really show those unless it's like a PlayStation showcase, like they're very specific about their terminology. So I was really not expecting like a new Ghost game like at all. So that it was really cool to see that. In terms of other stuff, we got like the Astro Bot free DLC. That's really cool. More Astro Bot content is always good. The Sonic and Shadow Generations with the Shadow movie level looks amazing. That looks really cool as well. But it was also like a lot of release dates for stuff. Like I know I'm personally excited for the new Dynasty Warriors game. I think that's coming out like January. Monster Hunter Wild's got a release date in this as well, which is February 28th. I'm personally. Okay, I don't know how the game is going to be in terms of like story or whatever, but the Lego Horizons game does look kind of fun. Like I just like the aesthetic.
Yes.
I think the reason why I like the aesthetic so much is because no other Lego game is made entirely from Lego like this game is. Like the whole game is made out of Lego, and I think that's really neat. And I was like, why does this game look better than some of the other Lego games? Like, oh, it's because like the whole game is made of Legos. Like the other games are like you play as Lego characters, but you're like in real world environments. I think it's really cool how this game is like everything is made out of Legos, and I think that's cool. I wouldn't pay like probably $60 for this, but or 70. I don't know how much it's selling it for, but also you can play a Sackboy. They didn't forget Aloy could be in a Sackboy costume. That's pretty cool, and Ratchet and Rivet. So I'm not paying digital deluxe for that though. But either way, it's cool to I think the visually the game looks cool, and it has my interest peaked a little bit because I don't hate Horizon like a lot of other people do. I actually do like Horizon. And in terms of Horizon, they announced a remaster as well, which is only a $10 upgrade, which is cool. They did raise the base price of the PS4 game, which is really shitty because they knew people would just buy the PS4 version and just upgrade it for $10 more. Like, you got to pay like full price for that shit. So, that's really scummy. I don't like that. But in terms of like remastered stuff, actually does look really good. Like I'm not gonna like play through the whole game again, and I probably won't even buy the upgrade. But the facial animations look way better. Like Horizon, the first game. Why am I forgetting? Zero Dawn. Zero Dawn had Zero Dawn had very bad facial animations. Like everyone looked very dead-eyed and just looked at you. Like this game, like they really remastered all the faces. They all look a lot better, just like Forbidden West. And it looks really good. And the game itself looks like fantastic. I'm like, wow, this looks really good. Again, would I pay like if you're a new player paying like $50, $60 for it? Maybe not. I don't know. Up to you. Even for a $10 upgrade, I'm like, I don't know. If it gives me another plat, then maybe because I'm a fucking slut for platinums for some reason. But maybe I'll do it and let me transfer my save and then I just get auto plat. But either way, it looks nice. If you want to experience Horizon again, go do it. I unironically really enjoy Zero Dawn. Like I really like that game a lot. I think Forbidden West is a bit weaker in terms of story, but Zero Dawn I think is like really good. And if you ever turn away from that game because of Aloy talking too much or all the other negative shit people say, I'm like, just give it a try. I definitely think Zero Dawn is really good, but that's just me.
Yeah, when it comes to Lego Horizon Adventures, it looks like a lot of fun. I think it can be, like a fun little Lego spin-off game featuring PlayStation characters, and then when it comes to the Horizon Zero Dawn remaster, I feel like when it comes to the PlayStation Studios, them remastering games that are available on PS4 and then, doing it for the PS5. Yes, it is always weird, always janky, but I can't deny that every single time they do it, it does look great. Same thing with The Last of Us Part 1, sort of them remastering, remaking that game. It looked a lot better. But, them also making the PS4 game double the price just because they were like, hey, I know, we said it was a $10 upgrade, but, we don't want you to, get like a steal over here. That's fucking scummy. Come on, Sonny. Like, what are we doing here? Let people, nickel and dime you out of what, like $20, $30. It's not going to kill you, honestly. And, this is another thing when it comes to physical versus digital. Now you're at the whim of the digital marketplace because Sony was like, we're going to bump up the price because why not? I'm sure if you were to walk into, a retailer like Best Buy, Target, whatever, the game is still $20 on PS4 and you could get that physical disc copy and then use that disc to upgrade it for $10. And then, yes, you are getting that $30 PS5 remaster, which, I think is what it should have been at the start. Why are we charging, premium prices for a game that's however many years old just because it was remastered? I get it. I understand. There was a lot of work put into it to make it look as good as it is, but I feel like we should be remastering games like Legacy of Kain, like that was shown off during this state of play where this is a PS2 era sort of action adventure game. I'm not even sure exactly what it is, but they are remastering Soul Reaver 1 and 2 is coming out later this year on December 10th. There's no talk about a physical version just yet, but I'm sure Limited Run Games or one of those other outlets might pick it up and do a physical release of it. But Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered, if you haven't played the game yet, sure, go for it. But I feel like, you should just play the PS4 version, not just because it still looks good, but also because it's cheaper.
I really wish you just put this time and effort into
anything else,
making like Jack and Daxter or Sly Cooper remakes, right? Like, wouldn't that be cool? I always keep telling my brother, like, imagine like a Paris level in like Sly, but like it looks like as good as like Spider-Man or something, right? Like that would look so good, like with like neon lights and just like dark and like, I don't know, it looked fucking beautiful. Same with Jack and Daxter. Like a Jack and Daxter in modern day would look fucking incredible. So like, I don't know. I feel like I would rather them do that than, and it's still it's still like a cynical outlook. It's like, oh yeah, they're just remaking old games to make them look better. But at least they're like old games that are really old and not like 7 years old, And even, I don't know. Yeah, it's a whole thing.
I guess really quick, Lunar Remastered Collection. I know
apparently that's a big deal.
Guy.
I actually don't know about this JRPG series, but apparently people are freaking the fuck out about it. So I know nothing about it besides it looks like an old PS1 JRPG. I love the aesthetic. It's very like 90s looking anime style. The music looks great. In terms of like, because there's been a lot of JRPG like remakes in the past few years, and I think this one definitely looks a bit lazier. Like this one is definitely like we just made the game like widescreen and like maybe make it a little bit better, because there's been some really beautiful ones lately. Obviously, like the Dragon Quest III remake looks fucking incredible. There's like a Star Ocean one that also looks really good as well, where they make it like 2D, 3D, so there's a lot of like 3D elements, but it still has the pixel look. This one looks a bit more lazy in terms of like how they're doing it, but apparently people really like this series, so maybe I'll check it out. I don't know. There's so many JRPGs though, man.
Yeah.
Like I love JRPGs, but it's so hard to keep up with every single one. So I usually stick to my big three of like Final Fantasy, Persona, and Xenoblade. So, but maybe I'll take a look if it's good. But yeah, really cool that people are getting this, because apparently it's like a really obscure one that just haven't really seen the light of day.
Yeah, the only thing I really know about it is the fact that as long as I've been game collecting, I know that Lunar on the PlayStation 1, both of those games are really expensive. I looked it up, I think yesterday. Both of those games, if you want them complete in box, $100 each. So the fact that they are remastering it, because when I was watching the presentation, I was like, oh shoot, they are remastering Lunar. Like, I don't know anything about it, but I know that these are games that people really, really, really want, and I'm sure they were never re-released outside of that. So, now that they are coming to not just PlayStation consoles, but I believe it's coming to like Switch, Xbox, PC, etc. Now this is going to be a much more accessible way for people to play this series, because, like you said, well and beloved JRPG series that has not sort of escaped the PS1 hell, if you will.
Yeah, there's a lot of PS1 games. I mean, Xenogears is still stuck on PS1, and I would love to play Xenogears, but that one's such a weird copyright issue, because fucking Square Enix technically owns it, but like, the main guy that made Xenoblade works at Nintendo, and it's like a whole weird thing. But I would love to play Xenogears, but yeah. Anyway, I guess I go talk about the Celebrate stuff, because they're having fucking Nier Automata DLC, which is amazing.
Yes.
So like, I really like Stellar Blade. I haven't beaten it yet though. I played like 20 hours of it. The game is long. I played like 20 hours of it, and then I kind of stopped because there was a lot of stuff I was doing, and I just kind of forgot about it. I really need to go back to it, because again, I was enjoying it. Besides all the discourse, Gooner bait, all that shit. But, I do think the game was a good game. Like the story is whatever. Like I really didn't care, but like the combat and stuff was a lot of fun. The graphics were really nice. It was just a really well made game. Like I really enjoyed it a lot. And it was cool to see like a South Korean publisher or developer like make something like this AAA. Like, I know the year before Lies of P came out, which is also a South Korean game, and that one did really well, as well. So it's cool to see these like these countries that haven't really made AAA games before make it big, right? Same thing with like Wukong, right? That came from China. So it's cool to see that happen, and it's really cool that they're getting a collab with the game that inspired them so much. I mean, the main director of Stellar Blade was a huge fan of Nier, and like he wouldn't shut up talking about it. And I could definitely tell while playing Stellar Blade, it's very Nier coded. Like it's very like we want to be Nier, but we're not Nier. So it's cool that Yoko Taro is just like, yeah, fucking just make an official Neo DLC. We don't care. And obviously, I love both Nier Automata and Replicant a shit ton. So I don't know what the extent of this DLC is. I don't know if it's like an actual story or if you just cosplay as 2B. I don't know what the specifics are of this. It looks like it's more than just a costume pack, because it looks like she was in like the area in Nier Automata. So either way, it looks really cool. I'm really excited to check that out. I really need to finish that game. I'm gonna make that a priority at some point. So, but yeah, looks like a lot of fun.
Do you want to just talk about Ghost of Yōtei now?
Yeah, let's talk about Ghost of Yōtei. Yeah.
As obviously the big game that they announced during this state of play. And yeah, very, very surprised that they were actually able to show it off now. Obviously, we know that Sucker Punch Productions have been working on something ever since the end of Ghost of Tsushima came out, I believe, in like 2018, 2020. No. Yeah. 2020, something like that. Let me just double check myself real quick.
It came out in 2019, didn't it? Ghost of Tsushima? No, 2020, right?
Yeah, 2020. 2020 because that was the same year that The Last of Us Part 2 came out. That was a big year for PlayStation. Yeah. Anyways, yes. So we have been waiting for quite a while to see what Sucker Punch Productions have been doing, and now they have revealed that it is a sequel to Ghost of Tsushima, not a direct sequel, but
300 years later.
300 years later kind of thing. You got a new character, new storyline, new area of Japan that we are exploring, and yeah, I mean, it looks great. This is going to be Sucker Punch's first PlayStation 5 exclusive built for the console in particular. And yeah, I'm very excited for it. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of Ghost of Tsushima. I haven't played or finished it or 100%ed it ever since I played it back in 2020. So I definitely want to play the new PlayStation 5 Definitive Edition or whatever and sort of go back.
The DLC too, because they had DLC for it.
I haven't done that either. So I definitely have to go back into the world of Ghost and sort of replay all of that stuff. So yeah, I'm excited to see that, Sucker Punch Productions isn't just doing a direct sequel, sort of continuing Jin Sakai's story, but actually following a new character in Atsu. And obviously people are freaking out for wrong reasons because it's a fucking female character that we're playing as here.
Again.
Here we go again. Just being goddamn oh my god, it's woke, or whatever. But come on guys, let's fucking grow up a little bit. Look inward for once. But yeah, very excited to see what this game actually has in store for us and sort of what new mechanics, what new storylines are going to be told within Ghost of Yōtei.
Yeah, dude, I'm so excited. Like, I loved Ghost of Tsushima 1. Like, I thought that game was fucking brilliant. I 100%ed it. I did the DLC. I even played a little bit of that like multiplayer mode they made too. I think Sucker Punch did a great job with that game. My history with Sucker Punch isn't as rich as yours. I played obviously all the Sly games, but I haven't really touched too much Infamous. Like I played a bit of Infamous 1 when it first came out on the PS3, but after that I didn't really play too much of that series. I would love a HD or like a collection on modern consoles.
That's another collection that Sony could do.
I would love that, right? So I could actually play those games. But Ghost of Tsushima, I was like, I'm not gonna miss this one, and I played it and I loved it. Just having an open world samurai game, or I guess more ninja game. I played more as a samurai, was just super cool. The game's art direction was fantastic. The combat was great. I really liked the story a lot. I think Sucker Punch really cooked with that game, and this game is looking like it's going to do the exact same thing, and I'm very excited for it. You riding on the horse with the flowers, just like in Ghost of Tsushima 1 was amazing. The landscape of the mountain, which looks like it's going to be the big centerpiece of this game, looks really good. The new weapon, since it's such a big leap in time, it's cool to see you have more flintlock pistols and a bunch of other different weapon types. That looks really cool as well. And just the fact that you're playing as a different character, I think that's a very brave thing for them to do. People really like Jin Sakai, so it's gonna be cool to play as a totally new character, taking the mantle of the Ghost title, I guess. So and it's kind of cool to have be like a legend. I'm pretty sure it was a legend in the first game. I forget, but it's good to see it get passed down to this person now, and and them continuing the story from there. And apparently we're not even in feudal Japan yet. So I imagine the last game, which I guess will be a third game, unless they want to do more, I don't know, would be actual feudal Japan type game, which is kind of cool that they were leading up to it. I for me personally, I didn't know Ghost of Tsushima 1 was that far back. It was 1200s. I'm like, holy shit, I didn't know it was that far back. And this one's in the 1600s or something. So yeah, really cool to see them mess with the time periods and different protagonists and stuff. So I am very excited for this game. Hopefully it doesn't get delayed or anything, but if they need to cook more, then sure. But the PS5 has been very desperate besides Insomniac to carry them right now. They need some help, bro. They need some help. They've been carrying this console. I know Santa Monica and Guerrilla released, the God of War Ragnarok and Forbidden West, but those are technically PS4 games, Insomniac have been the only people making exclusive PS5 games, right? So it'd be cool to have, another person, help them up, So yeah, either way, Ghost of Yōtei looks fucking fantastic. I'm very excited for it.
Yeah. Definitely one of my most anticipated games going into the next year. But
yep.
Yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to add, Damian?
No, I think that's everything.
All right. So that's it for the Travis and Damian podcast, episode 147. You can check us out 2 weeks from now with another episode.
See ya.